Ebony Music Legends asked a question on YouTube. He said, "Thank you, sir. The 2,500 pages of Chinese or any other language spoken. Don't understand, but thanks." So I'm going to deal with that statement first. Now, here is a due process, a fundamental due process principle at that. It's called the void for vagueness doctrine. Under the void for vagueness doctrine, a statute is unconstitutionally vague so as to violate due process if it, one, does not provide a person of ordinary intelligence a reasonable opportunity to know what is prohibited, or two, fails to provide explicit standards to prevent arbitrary or discriminatory enforcement by those enforcing the statute. See, a lot of people in this community, they keep throwing around the term legalese and they don't realize that they shoot themselves in the foot. They've already put it in their mindset that they cannot understand. And that's what you did by that statement. Here's the thing, it does not say that you will understand. It says you have a reasonable opportunity to know. And since you use Chinese in your thing, if you were going to learn Chinese, what would you do? You would go take a class, you would go uh, start learning the language, and you would start getting dictionaries so you could understand the meanings of the words, and you would get a dictionary that would translate the words to English so you could actually become competent at the language. See, it is presumed by the system that you have the potential to understand. Whether you do or not is up to you. Now, the other thing about it is this: ambiguity of law. There's a reason why ambiguity will never, ever come out of the law. Now, let's go to ambiguity. Ambiguity, number one, doubtfulness or uncertainty of meaning or intention, as in a contractual term or a statutory provision. Indistinctness of signification, especially by reason of doubleness of interpretation. Now, doubtfulness or uncertainty of meaning or intention. Now, the legislature has the authority to write the law, and they have the power to define the words. And do they always define a word? No. But the hierarchy of understanding how to define words in law is, first you go to the law itself, and nobody ever goes to the law, they go to the codes or the statutes. They don't go look at the bills that was passed, and they don't go read the sessions minutes at the state level, or they don't go read the congressional records to find out what the intent is. But even if you did do all that, the reason you'll never get the ambiguity out of law is the same reason that you have to interpret the Bible. Okay? When it when it comes to the Bible, how can you properly understand it if you don't take in the original writer's meanings of the words? In other words, you go back to Hebrew or you go back to Greek to actually see what the words actually meant. You also go and look at the culture of the day. What was their beliefs? What was their intention when you're doing this? And if you don't do that, then you are not properly doing things. The same thing is with law. See, when the Bible writers, you didn't write it. You were not there. You cannot read their minds. There's only so much understanding you can get, and I'll give you an example. The simple phrase, I love you. Ask a woman, that's all inclusive. But when you put a descriptor with it, for example, and you say, I love you today, now you've created a situation where, do you mean just for today? Or did you mean said something different? What about if you say that, well, what about yesterday? What about tomorrow? What about next week? You see how the questions come because you put a descriptor with the word, you diminish the power of it. So this is how law works too. You didn't write the law. You can only do so much to get your understanding of what it's mean based on what you see that they mean. But this is also why the courts try to push attorneys on everybody, because you have to be able to give your understanding. But if you have representation, your understanding goes out the window. Now it's the attorney's understanding. And in court, everything is a contract. So I hope this helps you out, and maybe you will get the mindset that you have the capability of understanding in time instead of saying you can't. Because the minute you say I can't, you have already limited yourself to the possibilities.